Thank you. First, thank you for being a customer. I very much appreciate it. Here we go. And I entitled it Being Customer Obsessed, not just customer focused. I did an interview with an entrepreneur. One of the things the gentleman asked me was about being customer focused. And candidly, a lot of people say it, but when you become obsessed and the single focus you have is around the customer, that's when obsession starts. So a little bit about me. I am a self-proclaimed creative guy. Yes, thank you for my agency for giggling at that. I very much appreciate it. And my beliefs are really quite simple. Creativity is leveraged with data and also insights. So I do have a little bit of creativity, but I'm probably a lot more analytical. And today I am simply going to share what my perspective is behind it. And so if you like it, please feel free to reach out to me. If you don't, Tanya at MediaPost.com put me up to doing this. Again, Tanya at MediaPost.com. Now, we heard a lot about complexity, and being in the auto business, in the digital ecosystem, let me tell you, it is beyond complex. But I'm a simple man, and I like to reference really simple things. So before you reach out to Tanya saying, what in God's green earth is this, and who did you bring to the stage? Hear me out. It's a wonderful book I've read to all three of my daughters. And when you look at it, it's probably the first marketing book or sales book I ever read. There was somebody working their tail off to try to sell something, green eggs and ham, to this lead character. And there are two lead characters in the entire book. And I am going to reference it throughout my presentation, so bear with me. But if you take away anything, it's about perseverance in selling is what Sam I Am was trying to accomplish. So the evolution, I'll say, of marketing. A lot of great authors that I like to reference. Philip Kotler is one, and he talked about marketing 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. 1.0 is quite simple. I'm going to shout at you about my product. I'm going to tell you everything I want you to know. Quite candidly, there's still a ton of marketers today stuck in marketing 1.0. I am in a category filled with marketing 1.0. 2.0 and 3.0 actually are quite interesting. It puts the customer at the center, trying to understand needs, segmentation, targeting, wonderful aspects that actually good marketers lean into. They also start to talk about emotions and the needs that consumers have. 4.0 is when you start fulfilling on the emotional and esteem needs of an individual. That is really lofty. There are very few brands out there who are actually doing it. And these brands make powerful, bold statements. These customers buy into the brand. They don't just buy the brand. And there's a ton of data out there. When going to my agency partners saying, what does today look like and what does tomorrow? I love the fact that they identify in 2020, there will be an estimate 47 zettabytes. Now, I have to tell you, I'm a simple man. I had to ask, what is a zettabyte? Apparently, it's 1 trillion gigabytes. And I think even more importantly, according to Cloud One, internet traffic from one house in 2020 will equal all internet traffic in 2008. That is a lot of data flowing. I have to tell you, my three daughters are definitely a part of that problem. That is a lot of data to try to consume and to try to understand, especially if you're trying to target or segment and reach out to people. And in marketing, what are the key buzzwords today? They are no longer the traditional buzzwords. We get stuck with algorithms, thanks to Google and Facebook, CCPA, GDPR, Apple's ITP 2.1. These are things, as a marketer, we are confronted with every single day. Whatever happened to ideas? or talking around the water cooler. These are the things that we're confronted with. And as a CMO, I have to look at how we spend our money. Gartner reached out this past year and asked individuals like myself, where are you spending your money? 1/3 said that they are spending the majority of their funds in this next fiscal year against MarTech. Not creativity, not people, but in and around technology. And not even around media. It's a frightening but very real statistic. One that I face and apparently countless others. So technology in our industry, forged and built on creativity, has taken a front seat. It is literally in the driver's seat. There's a statistic somebody gave to me that I found interesting yet a bit startling. In 2011, when MarTech really became a thing, there's 150 companies. Fast forward 6 years later, there's 5,000. That is crazy. But when you have individuals and companies trying to so desperately reach out to individuals and capture just a little bit of their attention, quite candidly, you need all the help you can get. So what now? All this data, all this information, and what do we do with it? I always say there's a lot of companies out there that are data rich and knowledge poor, that just pouring through data and really feel like they need to grab on to something. I'll tell you, there's oftentimes in my seat, I feel the same exact way. Are we reaching the people we want to reach? Does it really matter? Are they really taking action? And are they coming back to the brand? So with that, we all have a conundrum of how to look at data, specifically for a brand like mine that has been in transition. If you look at the vehicles up here, they're distinctly different from different decades. And I will tell you, one of the ones up here still gets talked about today. In a recent research survey that we did, very recently, somebody mentioned when asking about Mazda, they brought up two keywords over and over and over. Zoom, zoom. It's a wonderful word, but we truly are zoom, zoom, all grown up. It isn't as relevant to us today as it was back then. Wonderful part of our history. The other one is 626. We haven't made that vehicle in a decade. So yes, the awareness problem may not be difficult with us, but I will tell you, relevancy to what we are today is. And so I had to look deep inside. We have a conundrum. We were working so hard to chase the big guys. The Nissans, the Toyotas, the Hondas, those people who sell millions of units. We do not sell millions of units. The other thing is, because we were really reliant on syndicated data, we had to accept what they told us about the individuals we should be seeking. And so really it was virtually anyone who liked driving cars. That's a really big audience. The other important thing, we always want to tell you about everything we're doing and every new product feature and every new benefit behind it. We were saying 26 different things. And candidly, none of them well. And then finally, as I said, everything was built on data from others that we patchwork together. We're a 2% market share player. And if you take a look, our cars, hopefully you saw, are moving upstream. And candidly, so is the value and the MSRP behind it. So this really was a conundrum for Mazda. And we had to reflect internally, what are we going to do? 3 key goals. I'm a simple guy. Clarify the fans, fortify the brand, and modernize the plan. It says easy, but it's very hard. And we spoke to, as you heard over the past year, 10,000 people. Now here's the oddity. You would think we spoke to 10,000 people about cars. We did not. We talked about what are they passionate about. We talked about their feelings. We talked about their beliefs. We talked about who they were, to try to align and understand what motivates you. I will tell you, I think for the first 3 months, people in my company thought I was absolutely nuts coming in wanting to talk about feelings. But we had to understand who these people were and what really made them tick. And quite candidly, we used one of the best research companies in the world. They helped us unearth our own company. What about the company is so special? They explored the category. What could make us different? They identified pockets of customers to identify who exactly would be interesting to us. And probably most importantly, and why we picked this group, is they focused on culture. Culture that impacts that customer, that can be relatable back to our company. It was a lot of work, 8 months to 9 months, that my chairman allowed me to almost lay in a bunker trying to excavate all this information so we could get it right. And we did. We discovered the independent achiever. No syndicated data could have patchworked this together. We understood very intimately who this group was. More specifically, we talked a lot about psychographics, almost nothing about demographics, as we are always so obsessed with it. And as it states here, they're highly driven. They're discoverers. They have values that they want to connect with. They are perceived as influencers. They're creative, and they're experience-oriented. These are people who have a thirst and love for life. And so we kept digging at what about them is it that we needed to connect with? And who are the brands that they actually do it with? These are just some of the most admired brands. When asked, who are those most admired brands? In their top 10, there was not one automotive. In their eyes, these brands put them at the center. The discussion is always around them. They cater to what they want, when they want it, where they want it. And so it was not odd to me that automotives didn't make the cut, especially when you look at what the expectation is from some of these wonderful, prestigious brands. And so again, digging deep into Mazda as a company and as a brand, we had to dig in, how are we going to emotionally connect? At the root of our company is about feeling. The original Mazda logo, when we were a cork manufacturing company nearly 100 years ago, the kanjis around it said, bringing well-being to the world through manufacturing. Fast forward, we're building cars, 3 wheels and actually 4-wheel vehicles. And the belief is still the same. It's called Hishira Yurikobi. It's the joy of driving in a very simplistic term. And when you go back and you look at what our people do every single day, they literally engineer to a feeling, not to a specification. They study the human body and responses as much as they do engineering. It really is remarkable that at the heart of our company, we are about bringing joy through driving, but about feelings at the end of the day. And so that was a place that we realized we had to centralize on. So what do I do with all this data? And what do I do with all this insights? The first thing we did, candidly, is scrub third-party data away. And we just reflected on first-party data. We made sure that we built a new muscle internally around talking to people, and that had to have equal weight to what it is the data around us was saying. And with that, we formed a new group, our Customer Knowledge Center. It is a different kind of group that has come together to literally leverage the insights from our data, first party, and to leverage the insights from consumers that we interface with. And when the data tells us one thing, we are not afraid to go ask customers about it to make sure that we're getting it right. And it really is a little bit of art and science. And that's one of the things that we had to piece together, is we had to really realize it can't be just solely focused on data and analytics, which so many of us, including myself, can just get lost in the sea of information that's out there. And quite candidly, we had to change our culture. We were always trying to chase the next data point. There's always a missing piece of data that we had to go discover. And when you put people at the center and you actually make talking to people part of who you are as a brand, you really have to change your processes, because those are the ones that you have to truly listen to and discover what is it that they want if you're going to be committed and targeted. And so our focus was really quite simple. We didn't want to shout at you any longer and just tell you all about us. We had to put you at the center and make the individuals that were going to love our brand the centerpiece and how they feel, and try to provoke that through our product. Which actually created a whole new conundrum for us. You can imagine going to a media company that you actually buy media from, and you say, I'm going to talk about feelings in psychographics. Can you help me find these people? Many of them said, we can't. They were able to find 2 out of the 20 some odd questions that we were really targeted on. And so for us, as we are challenger spirits, it did not deter us from going the next step and doing the right thing. We didn't want to get close enough. We're a 2% market share player. We had to make sure every single dollar was leveraged the right way. So we created lookalike files. And it took us months to create enough database large enough to hand it off to media companies saying, it's individuals like these. Now can you find them? And from some of our media partners, they're beyond willing to work with us. And for others, they are not, and that's okay. We know what the passion points are and where we need to be, because the independent achiever has told us. And a lot of our partners are now helping us excavate even richer, more meaningful insights behind these individuals. And so for us, because we have put the customer back in the front seat, gripping the steering wheel, creativity, I will say, is alive and well within our own organization. Instead of just buying things because of what the data said, it's listening to what the customer has to say and presenting ourselves differently. Because not only will it tell you, in my belief, what actions they want to take, what they want to do, what they actually want you to say, it doesn't change just your media plan. It actually can change how you go to market as a brand, and it has for us. And so back to the book. If there's anything that this gentleman did, Sam I Am, throughout the book, he asked a lot of questions. 15 without asking the same one twice, to try to understand this lead character who's on the cover. What is it that you like that will get you to try my product? A very aggressive salesman at the end. The character just breaks down and says, fine, I'll do it. I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting know before you go and ask the questions of the people that we're trying to target. And quite candidly, the lead character became an advocate. He loved it. And I'm sure he's going to tell everybody. The other reason I love this book, there's 2 main characters. One, I actually gave away in the first slide, Sam I Am. The other one, can you guess who it is? It is not Cat in the Hat. Everyone tells me that. The wonderful thing about this book and why I love it as a marketer, he's never given a name. He is on the cover of the book. He is on every single page. He's never given a name. It represents every customer opportunity that's out there if we ask the questions to identify if they would like to connect with us. And it really has changed, as I said, how we go to market, how we present ourselves. And because the automotive industry isn't one that they most admired, we had to look to other brands that actually make them feel special. And so with that, I'd love to show you one of our latest creative work that really, for us, kind of changed the game of how we go to market.
Oh, my life is changing every day, every possible way. And all my dreams is never quite as it seems, never quite as it seems. I know I felt like this before.
Experience the reimagined Mazda 3.
Thank you for the gratuitous clap. I do, and my agency appreciates it too. It's really different. Even my mother said, Dino, that is different. It is, and it's focused on feelings. It's focused on the target customer feelings. It isn't solely focused on us. And I've even had my dealers tell me that is different, and that we are very proud of it. And the work is paying off. When we started this journey a year ago, we've had nothing but growth and increase in the opinion, the brand perceptions, and ultimately in people who are visiting our websites, Googling Mazda, making quote requests, and at the end of the day, paying a higher MSRP for our product. And if I can give you another really simple insight for me, is that data does drive insights. Insights do drive ideas, and ideas that can be ultimately creative, that go right back to hitting the customer. And if, again, the goose that laid the golden egg when it comes to data, if you're chasing it, which I can be found sometimes to do that, I love what Forrester has to say, that 57% of global data and analytics decision makers are still in the early stages, and only 8% demonstrate advanced insights-driven companies. That's pretty remarkable. And I know I have these terrible pictures in here, I apologize. But the other statistic I love and the data point I love is picking the right data. You don't need it all. You just need to understand what the right data is. I had a Stats 3 professor at University of Detroit who hated marketers, who was determined to expunge us from his class. And he said, with 30 of us in there, there'll only be 8 of you or less than 10 of you left, and I bet you no marketers. I had to prove him wrong. But he left me with wonderful insight of picking the right data. He says, you know, you marketers, you know what you're going to do? You're going to take something like this and say, when ice cream sales go up, so do shark bites. So please don't go in the ocean during ice cream sales season, which is absolutely ridiculous. But you know what? We rush to make decisions based on simple correlation, and they're not always correct. And my final author to share with you, and I love what he has to say, Chip and Dan Heath from the book Made to Stick. The more we reduce the amount of information in an idea, the stickier it will be. And to me, all he is saying is focus. Focus on what the right information is, and the right idea will come. And finally, for us, we do have a goal. We want to be the most relevant, trusted, and beloved brand to our fans, not just in the auto category. And we know we have a very long journey ahead of us, but as long as we keep listening to our target audience and try to connect with them in the ways that they want to connect with, we believe we will get to that space. And so with that, I thank you for being such a polite and friendly audience.